Hi, and welcome to the Teacher Talks on How Hub. My name is Grace Andruzzi alongside Sarah Koopman, and we are interviewing Mr. Santo. So, Mr. Santo, what is it like being a teacher at Howell High School?
Without trying to suck up too much, I will tell you that is definitely a good experience. Mr. Braverman, I'm not getting paid to say this, but he is a good principal. I think he's considered one of the best in our district. I actually had him as my athletic director when I was in high school at Freehold Township. So, we have a little bit of history. Seeing how he was as a SICA, seeing how he is as a principal, I think he kind of set the culture here that fits my personality as well. So, I haven't had this 16 years. I think every single year it's gotten better, in some fashion. Things have changed over time, but I think, always for the better.
Mm-hmm. And do you have like a specific reason why you chose to be a teacher, like something that inspired you?
Again, I'm going to sound extremely cliche, right? Oh, when I was this age, somebody inspired me. But I would say sophomore year of high school, I had a history teacher by the name of Mr. Shine. He was also one of my football coaches. But he really gave me, I want to even say the idea, but gave me the inspiration to want to at least dive into history as a teacher. I always thought about being a teacher. It was either going to be phys ed or history. I felt like I was getting a little bit more out of history, or I was putting more out there for students. And I love history. And then on top of that, I wanted to really be a coach. Being involved in sports, obviously you get a little bit older, you start to wear down where you can't play as many sports, but now you could still be involved in the game, maybe at a slower level.
Okay, so our next question is, what is a typical day like for being a teacher and a coach?
Okay, so the biggest thing I would say is that there's nothing typical about it as far as it being always the same routine. Yes, we teach 3 to 4 classes every single day. You'll have a prep period or a duty, right? But the bigger thing as far as teaching is the unexpected. So yeah, we come in every day. We're prepared to teach whatever we need to material-wise, but you got to be prepared for a student issue, right? Who's upset, who's not upset. Maybe somebody needs extra help with something in class. It could be that, you have to go and try to put together some type of program if you're a part of a club, or I have to get prepared for practice, maybe on my prep period. So really it's, just being prepared for any variable, being thrown at you and just being able to handle that situation. But the good thing is it always keeps it lively. You really don't know what to expect. So over 16 years, as much as I've been through, whether it be student problems, issues, whatever it may be, you're still waiting for something else.
So it kind of changes, depends on the day and like.
Yeah, everybody thinks that teachers just work until 2:20 and then it's over and we just go hang out and then enjoy the summer, right? That's really not the situation. You're putting in grades, you're doing all these things you need to, logistics-wise for school, but there's so many other issues. And I don't mean that they're bad issues. Like I said, when students have problems, right, it might be a good problem where, hey, I'm trying to figure out what college to go to. Mm-hmm. Can I have your advice?
Okay, so we know you mentioned being the girls' basketball coach, so what is your favorite part of being a teacher and a coach?
Okay, so I think that coaching has just become an extension of the classroom because obviously you're still teaching something, right? But I said before, the big thing is still being able to be involved in the game. I love basketball. I love football. I played both of them in high school. So to be able to be a part of both of those situations in high school lives, I think that's awesome. And the other part is, it's nice to have kids in the classroom who also play sports and kind of relate to those situations because, again, you take an interest in kids, which is always a positive in the classroom as a teacher. It helps you out. You could sit there and say, oh, how did softball go? Or how did this club or activity go, right? So it does, I would say, bridge the gap between those two things. But really, coaching and teaching are very similar, right? You're trying to get across some type of message or information, and then hopefully at the end, whether it's an assessment or a game, you end up winning, right?
So if you weren't in the career right now, like if you weren't a teacher, what do you think you'd be doing?
Okay, what do I think I'd be doing? I've wanted to be a teacher, like I said before, from high school on, probably from sophomore year on. But there's been other ideas in my head. People joke just because I like to talk a lot, maybe being like a sportscaster or an announcer for a game show I always get in class, right? Kids always say that. But really just anything that would be social. When I was younger, I even thought about, hey, would I go the route to be a police officer? That's something that I at least had thought about. But from such an early age of being a sophomore and deciding this is what I wanted to go with, I said, you know what? Again, sounding cliche, follow your passion, follow your dreams. And I know there might be some other questions surrounding this, but the big thing for me when teaching or deciding what career I wanted to get into, it was finding the middle ground between something that you love, which everybody tells you have to find something that you love, but then we also sometimes forget that you also have to make a living. So having a family and knowing I wanted a family or a house or cars and whatnot, I needed to find that balance. So I know I was never going to be extremely wealthy as a teacher, but I knew I was always going to be comfortable. But on top of that, be comfortable while I love my job every day.
I feel like you have like a sports newscaster like voice.
Yeah,
Like,
I get that.
See that.
yeah, You definitely do. So, what makes coaching the basketball girls so special to you?
Okay, so people always ask me, why did you pick girls over guys basketball? To me, in the beginning, I just wanted to coach basketball, right? So in the beginning, the opportunity that was given to me, I was actually coaching at Borough High School my first 2 years while I was teaching here until an opportunity, popped up over here when Mr. Gallagher actually ended up giving up the team and then allowed that opening for me to kind of take over and, run the program. The interesting part is that my sister actually went here and played here in the 90s when a coach by the name of Julie Hobie was here. She's long gone now. I think she became a principal somewhere else. But it's kind of cool for me where, I got to watch my sister as she was going through the process, watching her games, and then now I'm the guy on the sideline leading the team. So that's a great aspect of it. The other part is girls over guys, I actually prefer. And when I say that to you, it's not because the games are dramatically different. But when you look at girls basketball, women's basketball, I feel like there's a little bit more of a team concept. And that doesn't mean that the boys don't play as a team. But I feel like everybody has to play a little bit more buy into more of a role. And collectively, you see that more in girls basketball than you do in guys basketball.
Okay, so obviously we had you in humanities in freshman year. So how do you feel like teaching the humanities classes compares to teaching the classes with the rest of the student body?
I absolutely love it. I've taught the senior humanities class. I've taught sophomores and now with the freshmen just because their history track has changed. But the big thing with humanities for me, it always lends itself to kids that will be more engaged, right? We all know as teachers we want kids that want to learn. So whether it's not every single day that someone wants to learn. You get more of that where kids are ready to roll. They understand, they have an emphasis on education, which is always a plus for a teacher. But the bigger thing is that bond that grows within that class, whether it be that year or throughout the 4 years, is something special. You get that close-knit, and as a teacher, you become closer with those kids. And I know the situation for us was a little rough with COVID, but that's the other part too, is that you get a little bit more diversity because you have kids coming from all over the place in this collective unit. And again, being more engaged and willing to learn, that's even more special for a teacher. So it doesn't matter what level it is on the humanities program, it's always been a treat.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Mr. Santo. We really appreciated having you. And yes, this was our teacher talk for this week.
Woo!